Agil Kais Datis Aux Buste Kausco Dis Kais Ore Puran Telos Kakarje O Salman Loncho Od Bovina Carbafni So Bajile Ababa Go Ni So Bajile Momao Si Ai Onod Mabzai Adoias Momar Poil Penis Zamran Siaopi Kaos Go Od Bliors Od Corsita Abramije. How many are there which remain in the glory of the earth, which are and shall not see death until this house fall and the dragons sink? Come away, for the thunders have spoken. Come away, for the crowns of the temple and the coats of him that was, is, and shall be crowned are divided. Come, appear to the terror of the earth, and to the comfort, and to our comfort, and of such as are prepared. Welcome to Sun, that's Skeptics UAP News. This episode is about Brown's cryptic tweet being decoded by me, an Enochian magician. Now, I'm winking at the end of this because I don't believe there's actually a decoding here that will happen. A decoding with one E represents to me a kind of cryptographic encipherment, let's say, or decipherment of a message where Brown is saying something about UAP disclosure and we can get the details of it and whatever. Actually, there's occult significance here. There's social significance in the tweet, but I don't know if there's cipher or not. And that's one of the things I'll talk about. It's been very interesting to me working with this material. Now, this is the third presentation of Sun on Brown in Brown's cryptic tweet. It really surprised me. It brought me out of a sort of vacation, let's say, but it's not. I moved to the woods to build an off-grid situation for my family. I spent 7 weeks building an a dome, icosahedron dome to live in with my family, and it's been really beautiful. And I've been trying to get internet and power and blah 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 and all these things set up. And during this time, Matthew Brown of weaponized podcast fame, who wrote the Immaculate Constellation document that was submitted to Congress, he tweeted something that included a vague, obscure reference to Enochian Magick. And I said, you know what? I've got to cover it here on this channel because Sun is actually a liturgy of Enochian Magick. It's not Skeptics News, I'm sorry to say. This is an integral practice of someone who is a deep believer in these phenomena because I'm an experiencer myself. How I experience what I experience and how I apply my skepticism is really a subject matter that we're going to dive into here. So how can I spend probably the next hour of your life decoding, that's in quotes, a tweet that I don't actually believe right now has kind of a enciphered meaning? It could, I don't know, but these are my conclusions. So it's a bit of a dialectical experience. So stick with me if you're curious about this. By the way, this presentation is addressed to my loyal following of about 1,000 people who I'm very honored really do watch my stuff and connect with me. I'm completely baffled that after several years of working on this and trying my best to tank the algorithm, I still have more than 1,000 followers, and that's really, really great. I'm going to switch my efforts to really build up my presence in the algorithm. That's in part why Skeptics UAP News is coming forward, but I'm really sending this forward to my followers who understand I like to do cryptic long presentations, and they sometimes get back to me about it. So if you have any questions or comments, please address them here on the video or to email or whatever. This video as well, if you paid attention to the thumbnail, is also an open letter to the agents of the Imperial Shewstone, as revealed by Deecoding, Brown's cryptic tweet. Now, what does that actually mean? I'll get into it. Who's the agents of the Imperial Shewstone? What is an Imperial Shewstone? These are all very good questions, and I'll cover that by way of exploring what and how occult practices encode meaning in things. So, let's see. Deecoding, let's bring it up. Deecoding Immaculate Constellation reports author's cryptic tweet with Enochian. Or resolving the claim that Brown's cryptic tweet contains a cipher key to the Immaculate Constellation report, understood as a ciphertext. Now, why would I need to resolve those claims? Well, making those claims might be a little dangerous in some interpretations of his cryptic tweet or his whistleblowing. I am not concerned about those dangers for reasons I'll explain shortly. Maybe that's wise, maybe that's not wise, but my angels guided me to this understanding and this strategy. So they guided me to address this as an open letter to the agents of the Imperial Shewstone as illumined by Deecoding Brown's strange tweet. This video has a lot of text and some disclaimers, so really don't take anything at face value, and understand that I'm addressing communication both to my audience, and I'm embedding a message to, I don't know, various UAP factions or disclosure gatekeepers or whatever has been illumined by this strange cryptic tweet and my understanding of Enochian and the Sigillum de Ameth and things like that. This is the cryptic tweet we're talking about. Matthew Brown on June 5th said, "Hey, Elon Musk, interested in a real asymmetric advantage to wield in this political adventure you have started. As you know, the White House has long possessed a unique AI capable of predicting a range of future events. So how might they do that? And what does that have to do with Enochian Magick? And what might that have to do with the fact that life is a dream?" Well, it turns out I am interested in this tweet for a variety of reasons, not only Enochian. I thought this AI is just BS, politic, drama, tech bro thing. But actually going like, hang on a second, there's something more to this. Got me thinking and really brought forward the content of this. You see in the bottom left, there's a circle and there's numbers and letters in it, and there's some red markings on it. That's the Enochian here. That's why I say there might be a cipher here. My hypothesis as an Enochian mage is that the Sigillum de Ameth and the derivation of the name Aborimon presents a cipher key. This is a cipher key, and you use that. The procedure to generate Aborimon is new information from the occult world. So I'm saying Brown used that key to encrypt a message within the Immaculate Constellation report. That's my guess. And what is the purpose? I don't think it's to communicate detailed information or treasonous whatever. I don't think so. I think it is kind of Gnostic in origins, or some information from his about occult things that doesn't really matter. This is Matthew Brown testifying to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. And many people said, oh, he was very authentic in here. He seemed really scared and all sorts of things. So they said he felt really authentic. I have been thinking about him saying life is a dream, but it's just a little bit more like we're in the Matrix. It's just more boring than the Matrix or whatever. And I sort of really do agree with a number of his metaphysical conclusions. And so that got me thinking about what would it mean. He said, hey, after his tweet or whatever, he tweeted this patriotic flag that says, lead, follow, or get out of the way. That quote is attributed to a General Patton or whatever, but what would it mean to follow? What would it mean to lead? Right? And so I thought, you know what? I follow Matthew Brown. I thought he was just one of many in the parade of whistleblowers from intelligence community adjacent sources that are powerful dreamers, like John Ramirez, right? Who have been, or Blitch, who have had that mantid eat off his face. Yet where are his scars? If these things are not dreamlike in nature, where are his mantid bite scars, right? This is the question I have. And in what spaceship are those things flying? So life is a dream. That is what Brown is revealing here. Brown is his real name, right? I doubt it. I think it was selected for a reason. So let's keep going. There's a lot to go through. I wrote most of the things I need to say on slides, so I'll be reading a lot of this. Right? I raise the question, a hypothesis, could this be cryptography or steganography in the tradition of Dee? So John Dee, the 16th century alchemist and scientist, advisor to Queen Elizabeth, architect of the British Empire, etc., etc. He used codes like Brown used to communicate in plain sight, hidden things that we're still uncovering today. And so I'm wondering that about Brown. Is this cipher key? Is this cipher text? And in some interpretations of this, there's details about sensitive things released through the cryptography or whatever. That's one interpretation. And the sense here is that maybe, I don't know, I'll never figure it out. I'm not that smart. But I am pretty sure that there is someone out there in the world that is tasked to figuring out whether or not Brown released some information. And I think there's so many different factions here. And I think it's kind of a meaningful symbolic communication, sort of like how a mage might do something in a ceremonial magical ritual that has significance. I think this tweeting has significance, and the raising of the question whether or not there's cryptography has significance. So anyways, I need to just keep going, power through. This is the image of the Sigillum de Ameth. There's Galathog. You might be interested in Galathog the Great's Field Guide to Anomalous Geometry, where I talk about Galathog. You might be interested in Book of Galactic Light, where we talk about Enochian. You might be wondering what's going on here. I would turn to Frater Eleftheria's Lifting the Lamp channel, where he talks about the secrets of the Sigillum de Ameth, where this is screenshotted, and his also reaction video, which is great. So here, let's see, where is that? This is the document Matthew Brown submitted to Congress. It's a 12-page document, missing a page, has a blank page, whatever. There's drama around that. I thought it was melodrama to sell podcasts. I thought it was T-shirts, Nancy Mace's T-shirts, American Alchemy T-shirts. Thought it was drama around that. Jeremy Corbell's T-shirts, or I don't know if he does T-shirts, but his podcast subscriptions. I thought it was drama. But then I thought, whoa, this is a funny thing. 11, 12, what's going on? This is shifting of numbers and communications from Brown. This is a different order of things. That's what I'm alerting people to. It's not just social media drama, at least in my opinion right now. And that was my first opinion, so I might change it as we go. So let's check this out. This is Frater Eleftheria. He is the guy Brown screenshotted. And I love this because everyone says he completely decodes the tweet. It's like, no, actually, how occult things work is just like dreams. There's not one interpretation. There's many interpretations. And so there's significances and correspondences that hold true in, say, the domain of music. If you set the Signum de Ameth to music, I'm sure it would be interesting, at least, and coherent. And this is a theme of geometric harmonics, right? Harmonics across different domains. We knew this. Pythagoreans knew this, but we kind of, since Cartesian algebra, let's say, have lost a little bit of geometric harmonics. So nothing can be completely decoded in the occult world. And so that's all I'm saying here. Frater Eleftheria is a powerful speaker about powerful experiences who has had powerful experiences in magic and UAP stuff. I would listen to him. I would not receive anyone's conclusions without my own discernment. Same goes here. But I started listening to his work and I thought, ooh, he's touched by the angels. So let's listen to some of the things he has to say here. We'll click around.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Lifting the Lamp. I'm Frater Eleftheria, and
I need an hour.
You know, very knowledgeable on a number of practices in that tradition. I've had a lot of personal experiences, altered states of consciousness, encounters with...
So let's just tune back to here a little bit. My kids are going to tell me that dinner's ready, but I'm going to keep working here. So.
And who am I? I'm a content creator who teaches people about the Western esoteric tradition.
You see these dust things come
very
up.
knowledgeable on a number of
people say there's
practices
orbs
in that tradition.
I've
had a lot of personal experience.
Okay, you saw one of those come up. That's really interesting.
Or UAP, whistleblowers.
He's talking about UAPs here.
Why pick this particular corporation? I think it has to do with
talking about
the name and the choice of name for this particular
Somewhere
company.
Here he mentions me, which is
Amentum
the important part
is
for me.
clearly a derivative of both. And then other things about the way these UAPs behave suggests that they're existing on another dimension beyond this one.
That's right.
And Grush says many of the same things that Rob interact on this dimension as well. So at this point, I'd like to talk about the work of another person known as Daniel Rection.
Thanks.
This is somebody who's kind of an esotericist of sorts, but he comes at esotericism and spirituality from the UAP angle, and it's very interesting to see how his experiences and his research has sort of found connections between those two things. So Daniel Rection has been able to demonstrate that a lot of government research into UAPs was not about the retrieval of wreckage at all, but was actually based in remote viewing activities, using telepathy, using astral projection to communicate with something through time and space. And he's also pointed out that many reported alien abductions come about through a specific type of hypnosis, and so they're linked to the spiritual experience and altered states of consciousness. He's also been able to demonstrate through the work of Jacques Vallée how UAP events and encounters are very dreamlike and surreal and sort of have this sort of high strangeness surrounding them, which suggests altered states of consciousness associated with the encounters. So he's done all of this and demonstrated that encountering these UAPs is a kind of a religious experience and overlaps with the spiritual experience in that respect. And he points out that some of the techniques for telepathically contacting the UAPs are similar to medieval scrying, and he singles out one technique in particular, which is the CE5 protocols of Dr. Stephen Greer, which I mentioned earlier in the video, and Rection.
Okay, so thank you, Frater Eleftheria, for the really kind shout out in this matter. I believe that it likely was inspired by the angels, this connection, because the angels told me to pay attention to him, and I kept doing that and this thing and whatever. So we're both speaking at the Enochian the second annual conference of Enochian Mages in Vancouver this July. I believe he's dialing in from Australia. So he published this video a couple days ago, and I had a dream that was synchronistic with it, which is why I got to this point and I was like, oh my God, he published this like literally like it was coming live right when I was having the dream. So I kind of shared that. He's got a great introduction to my work. I really appreciated how he kind of gave a great synopsis and summary for my work. There's always nuances I would call forward, but we're going to...
Hi everyone, and welcome to Lifting the Lamp.
We need to talk about magic, symbols, sigils, and spells, what these things are. You likely have an imagination about them. I do too. And they're really, I'm always shocked that they are natural to me and the world. And they work. And I can talk about how and why, but it's not how scientists are like, magic doesn't work. It's something different. It works through correspondences like dreams and things like that. These things work through association like dream interpretations, and the old-timey word for that was correspondences. There are many types of causation beyond the physical mechanistic, and that's one of the things that UFO people have a hard time with. They go, nuts and bolts makes sense to me, remote viewing doesn't. It's because the understanding of causes outside of physical mechanistic have been erased from our philosophies and science and understanding. So it's too much to get into. read some philosophy, read some liberal arts, turn to Aristotle. That should be a good starting point for you if you need to know more about the causes, or I'd happy to talk to you about them. So I deal with teleological causes that stand outside of time and express themselves through dream-based causal loops as pointed to by Eric Wargo, which involve the appearance of non-human intelligences, aka aliens, and UAPs, aka UFOs, aka flying saucers. Right, so strangely enough, I deal with these kind of causes that intersect with the real appearance of those things. Now, did I physically cause that? No, but there is a kind of working with the teleological causes that I believe is impactful, and I believe we get to that through hypnotic states. So we'll introduce the term decoding and decoding. And one has two D's to honor John Dee. One has one D to be the regular decoding. One involves cryptography. It's like the difference between cryptography, which is encoding a message, translating a message from one string of characters to another using a key. Steganography is embedding a message in another message. So it isn't necessarily one-to-one in that way. We've got one definite message, or one is generative of many messages. If you decode something, there's one message. If you decode it, there's many messages. Now, the difference here is how to interpret dreams, right? So if you're a dream interpreter, you might interpret it one way and go, this is the meaning of it. That's like the dream book type meaning, that kind of, this is the dream dictionary of what losing your teeth means. You're going to have anxiety or whatever. Or you dream of a scar, that's penis envy, according to Freud. Now, that's one interpretation of many. Now, ethical dream workers understand that there's many interpretations to a dream. And so there's a sense of decoding versus decoding even there. There's objective meaning versus subjective or transpersonal meanings. So while I hypothesize that there may be a cryptographic code in the Immaculate Constellation report, using the key of the sigillum de Ameth and the derivation of the angel name Aborimon, I am using methods to decode Brown's tweet, not decode it. I'm not interested in cryptography. It's like playing Scrabble forever, and I hate that. So here I screenshotted the post, a comment I made on Frater Eleftheria's channel about this. And I recorded the post because of the synchronicity. And I'll just read that here. So I awoke from a dream which occurred as you published this. I am on a sturdy bridge with another person. There are many people walking over to the other side. When I awoke, my dream angels told me to record it because it continues the series of dreams I incubated for the Brown Post. The coincidence for me suggests that this video completes the bridge. There have been other signs for me to consider the light of your revelation. The post was a sort of omen, and I'm considering the ramifications as well. Thanks again for your great work. So the bridge dream for me is a sign and a wonder. So when I saw Enochian in the tweet, I incubated a dream to understand it. The dream involved a magically constructed bridge, like Cinderella, or something where the birds come in and give her everything she needs to become a princess. So I dreamed then 2 days later of a solid bridge in the moment Frater E published this reaction video mentioning me. So therefore I interpret that his mention of me actually completes the bridge I dreamed of. What is that bridge? Who walks over it? Why does that mention allow for an encounter that is a sort of completion of a bridge, let's say? So it's a bridge from where and to whence, right? So when I consulted the Book of Galactic Light, which is the recording of my Enochian workings, I turned to 20 CHR, that's the Aether, that's a chapter name, which described a sacrifice and a movement from the third or fourth density to the fifth density. The density is sort of like a law of one style, new age understanding. Third, fourth density has competition. You're focused on magic for the sake of the self or service to self, but in fifth density, everyone is service to others or service to others through self. This is a turning of the wheel of Dharma towards the Mahayana, right? We go from Hinayana to Mahayana here. And so this is important because the exoteric interpretation of this chapter demands forgiveness from the light towards the intelligence community. So people who are victims of false memories of alien abduction are being called, this is what the chapter says, to forgive the intelligence community deceptions that cause their harmful false memories of alien abduction instead of transcendent dreams of angels. That's what I'm saying here. That's what I am being called to do, is to forgive the intelligence community and the intelligence community related individuals who have promoted harmful false memories of alien abduction for profit, for no good reason beyond that caused me as a child in the 90s to fear my dreams instead of to turn to them as a source of divine revelation. And my dreams call me to forgive them. And that is what this is about. So explicitly, I am calling by way of the angels. I am the voice of the mirror, voice of the mage of the shattered mirror. That's my magical appellation in this working. And I am using that voice to say, you need to forgive those the cabal, the gatekeepers, the Wall Street Journal pointed at. You need to forgive them. You need to forgive perhaps the challenging aspects of the politics in order to move towards that. We move from a world where the cabal victimizes people to a world where everyone must be angels. Everyone must be angels. If you think about that, right? This comes from, this everyone must be angels idea comes from a man named Peter Thiel, who is, I believe, hiddenly influential in this experience. And he thought about faster than light technology and came to the conclusion that everyone must be angels. Now, he says it in a way that feels like an imperative or command or a logical necessity. And I'm not sure he knows which, but I believe that some of the impact of this understanding is compelling people to be angels in a way where we must be invited, let's say. And so the dreams have commentary on that. But I would totally agree that it is pointing to a world where everyone must be angels. So as waking is to dreaming, what's going on with this dream bridge and the metaphor? This is one of many interpretations. The mention of by Frater E, along with my public claims of a cipher, means that someone employed by one of many UAP disclosure factions may evaluate these specific claims in this video. So now the angels instruct me to say, welcome to my labyrinth, which is what they call my content and documentation I've produced and published on YouTube. This is an interrelated set of claims that are based in creative dream work practices that have more than they appear to be, let's say. This channel is a dream journal of sorts where claims may be decoded, not decoded. I would be happy to directly answer any questions you have, if you have any questions. If you're one of these people tasked to figuring out, is there actually a code in here or not? I think that the people who actually know and the dangerous people actually know whether or not there's a code. But I think there's a faction out there. And I think that the person in that faction who's tasked to figuring this out will have a decision to make that helps complete this bridge, let's say. So what is the Imperial Shewstone? Because I think that person is an agent of the Imperial Shewstone. And so the Imperial Shewstone is a metaphor and an archetype. Shewstone is a funny way of talking about the crystal ball you use to see the future. It is an obsidian mirror. We know John Dee's. We know where it came from. Now that insight stolen by colonists, likely from the eye of a mural of a divining god of the Aztecs, is what I understand. Found its way to Europe, found its way to D, and I don't know. Showstones can lead you both into truth, light, and darkness, let's say. Just like the Shewstone in Lord of the Rings, which was called Palantir. And so things now are full circle, let's say. A theory Frater E said. So John Dee is the historic archetype of an operator of a Shewstone. Tolkien's Palantir is a prime example of a Shewstone that's really important. The Imperial Shewstone is a metaphor for use of psychic spying and other means of occult action for the purpose of government. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what an Imperial Shewstone is to me. It's just a poetic metaphor. What's an agent of the Shewstone? Well, it's someone employed in service to the intelligence services and data analysis intersecting psychic spying or the paranormal, right? So that's what I'm saying. So I'm addressing this to an agent of the Imperial Shewstone. I say they're tasked to evaluate claims related to Brown, and it might not be evaluation of claims so much as evaluation or measurement of impact in a form of analytics. Like someone's doing analytics here. Someone's figuring out the analytics associated with these claims, and they will have to evaluate my situation or because of the complex nature of my claims, they won't be able to turn to AI and they'll have to figure it out. That's what I'm counting on. That's what the angels told me it has happened, and that's why they told me to do this weird video. So I believe this person, the agent of the Shewstone, may influence decisions related to a UAP disclosure faction. I believe the person that's like scanning through this is actually just an employee and not necessarily, but passes stuff up and passes stuff down and blah, blah, blah. Sort of like how when I was working at Goodreads.com, I made some decisions, but I had to get them passed through a director of engineering and the CEO, and also advisors from, places like the VC world or whatever. So ultimately, I think that there's someone employed by one of several billionaires or state programs interested in UAP surveillance and cutting edge technology like AI. I think if I get them interested in what I have to say, chain of events will unfold and will bring my work forward to the people that need to see it so that we can complete a ritual I've already dreamed of years ago and have been trying to make sense of ever since. So, any UAP disclosure faction? Yeah, I say so. Within the bounds of dreamwork ethics, I think our dreams will guide us together. I believe in the power of dreams and dreamwork to heal, transform, and inspire anyone. Yes, anyone. And so some people in my audience will go like, but you shouldn't work with them. You shouldn't even ask for it. You shouldn't even think about it. That scares me. I'm sharing this video and sharing my face and talking about it and talking about all of these things in the way I can, and be happy to have conversations with people who are touched, people who turn to me who are touched by or are confused by this. Yes, I would work with any UAP disclosure faction and the gatekeepers because they are working with dreams and reports about these encounters that have a significance and an impact in this world ontologically. I know it for a fact from my experience, from my reading, and I want to prove that through my PhD work to the world of science and engage the mainstream in this. But so it's not necessarily like I condone certain aspects of the UAP disclosure factions, but I believe that they are human, that they will respond to their dreams like any other human does. When we give them time and space to work with their dreams, they move towards healing, insight, and transformation. And that's what I seek here and now. Therefore, my desire to collaborate is an act of faith in the power of human dreaming. If the shoe fits, so I'm thinking about what UAP disclosure faction should I work with, right? Which one am I inviting? I go, I actually don't know. So I'm open, having an open letter. I think someone, there's a really good fit, but I have to see more signs and omens. So Eric Wargo wrote a book on time loops in dreams, and his name means shoemaker, Hungarian, if that truly is the etymology of his name. So my D-SETI quadrilogy emerged from a dream loop, and there's a lot of data I'm decoding now, but that dream loop really made itself clear because of various signs and wonders and things like that. Happy to explain it, but really the UFO and entity encounters really resolved into something that could be mediated through dreaming, and it revealed itself in that way to me. So my lucid dream book, LVX, that's Liber Visionorum Xenomedicarum, with the subtitle Magi Secretum Magnum, which means prophetic dreams are the secret key of magic, the great secret key of magic. Basically, that's a quote from John Dee. It is a series of omens that cause me to generate specific documentation involving the liability of inducing harmful false memories of alien abduction. So that's a theme that will come up. Somebody induced harmful false memories of alien abduction in a generation of psionic dreamers. Someone's responsible for that. And now, because of like age of crimes or whatever, like I go, is that a crime? Is that not? I don't know. But I think as soon as we figure that out, there might be action that we could take. And I think that's really important because harmful false memories are being generated now in research, in media, in government, because nobody knows what they're talking about here. It is a situation, a Pandora's box situation. That's my guess. That's my bet. The phenomena reveals the phenomena. Humans don't. That's why that's what Jim Semivan says. That's what he says. I actually believe that I see all of these factions are looking to the phenomena, and they need to know how to work with it. If they don't know how to work with it, they are confused by it. If they are confused by it, they might do things like make a 6 billion parameter dream database or whatever and take action on it. That sounds crazy to me as someone who's written his master's thesis on a large database of dreams and spent 10 years working on this sort of thing and has experience producing data visualizations for clients like Harvard and the UN, right? Like I go, this is crazy. That would be a crazy thing to do. That would actually cause such paranormal impact that we might see as UFOs things. I don't know. But I just wanted to show you this book. And this is, this is my dream journal. It's art. There's not one way to interpret it. If you want to see that more, you can go to the D-SETI podcast, which I know I've only done 6 of them. I got kind of distracted with the sun thing. I meant to do every other, and we're getting back to it. I'm building a studio to do art and music with you, to do a really creative dream work, and that's really what I'm excited about. All right, so why am I doing this? What's going on? What's ultimately happened is, well, a year ago in Enochian first version, I went, oh my God, I'm going to talk to Enochian mages. I want to invite them to consider a ritual of transmutation, transmuting the raw material of the 4 traumata of alien abduction as defined by John Mack in the unusual personal experiences into 4 empowerments of shamanic dreaming, which I'm defining now. So I'm asking Enochian mages to do that. 1 year ago, basically, I said, hey, consider this ritual. I'll do that. And then now Enochian's in this situation, and there is actually pragmatically, through working with some of the UAP disclosure factions, a way to legally address this. Oh my God, that's really odd, and the character history of some of these people really makes sense. And I go, we could. There's there's a lot of stuff that I thought was a metaphor that is now becoming literal, I think, in possible timeline futures or whatever. And so I'm just talking about that now because I'm interpreting a rather large dream loop that I don't know if this scale of dream loop has been quite documented, as I've documented half of it, right, in Missing Time Found. So why make this video instead of an email? My value here is as a skilled interlocutor. It's as a magical operator. It's for scrying-like activities, which means the data analysis of dreams and the presentation of visuals around that, or a number of other activities, or as an interpreter for noetic dreams. That's my value. That's my value add in the UAP disclosure world. Part of my power is through the publication of documentation involving dreams and hypnosis. This is in the tradition of John Dee. My guidance insists on several layers of documentation, outer, inner, and secret, of these processes for various reasons that I'd be happy to discuss. The documentation of these experiences has an ontological effect. I haven't mapped it, but I know it works, which is why I am cautious when I work with dream databases. And why I go, if you're not cautious, it might have bit you 10 years ago when you didn't even know it and got confused by things like skinwalkers or whatever. So I don't know. I'm sharing my insight here with people who seem to be dangerous and powerful, yet also touched by dreams and interested in them and need some guidance, right? So I'm going to send those emails as well. The other reason why I'm making a video is to share my insights and progress with my people so that they know where I'm at. So I'm embedding messages within messages to 2 different audiences, probably 3 or 4, to be honest. So what did I decode from Brown's post? Last slide I had something funny. This slide I had something funny. I'm working on my tech stuff. I'm sorry. So Brown. Why his name? I don't know. So what are the insights? What did I decode from Brown's post? Well, insight about dream-based AIs. So insights and a hypothesis about dream-based AI. So disclaimers, I entertain many hypotheses derived from a variety of sources. Video inspired by creative dreamwork processes, therefore must be evaluated like a dream journal. I have found indications that there is coded meaning in Brown's writing, but I have not tried to decrypt a message, nor will I try unless guided or paid to. So I don't actually have evidence for the claim. I go, this looks like it. Here's the literary reasons why. I offered a similar hypothesis related to Dee's heptarchical workings. It's very clear, like chapter 5 there gives decryption instructions, and occultists spin around 5 times a day to say prayers to names of days or whatever, angels associated with it, instead of doing something 5 times and spinning it around 3 times or whatever, like the words. And so they find connection with angels in that. And I believe in it. That's how I found connections with angels, is misunderstanding cryptographic instructions from someone dead 5 centuries. So if I misunderstand cryptographic instructions from some fellow named Brown and take it for angel communications, I'm just in good company here. This is an important graphic. I'm now just throwing stuff out for you to have in your mind to understand the insight that I've decoded. So this is the mutual enactment hypothesis by Sean Esbjorn Hargens, put forward in Our Wild Cosmos, a white paper for the Exo Studies Institute, which enabled him to become director of the Integral Noetic Science Department in the California Institute for Human Sciences, of which I'm a PhD student on leave of absence for ethical and financial reasons. I resolve the ethical reasons. I'm raising this video to resolve the financial reasons. I've got about 10 weeks to do it. Otherwise, I've got to extend my leave of absence, which may or may not happen because I've raised things in kind of politically incorrect ways. And so I'm really hoping that someone who has a history of supporting contrarian, politically incorrect ways of thinking that strategically drop off of the academic world, who who has a history of funding legal battles might actually help me in this situation to affect change in this world. That's what I'm hoping. So that's why I'm addressing this to an agent of the Imperial Shewstone, because there's one person in the world who can really help me in this situation, and has been public about their capacity to or role in that dialogue or faction. I don't know. This is getting obscure. You'll figure it out. Someone will, and I'll send that person an email. So there's many hypotheses that come together to explain the phenomena. And so it's not just one phenomena, it's many. One is alien abduction is real. One is hypnosis, interest that it causes. One is there's psyops. It's all working together. Right? When we say UFOs are real, it says something in here makes sense. When we go UFOs are a psyop, we go only the only the psyop UFOs are psyop, not the unstructured, non-structured light thing I saw, not the angel visitations. Those aren't actually unknown to me, but people call those light orb UAPs because they don't know what they are, and they don't know the qualities of them, and they don't know how to form an eidetic intuition that says this is an angel and this is a satellite. And I could tell you how, but people like Chris Bledsoe and the intelligence community aren't willing to hear that discernment, that there's a small group of people, as pointed to by Sean Kirkpatrick, that aren't willing to hear the objective thing. I think because they're afraid that going objectively, the UFO of God is actually Intelsat 29E, says that Chris Bledsoe is an experiencer. He is an experiencer. I believe he is. I believe angel stuff, all that stuff. But I know for a fact that if you look at the sky and say a satellite is an angel, you're deluded. And we need to just talk about that. That needs to be clear. It doesn't say that none of these things are real. And so there's many hypotheses coming together. That means there's many different competing, overlapping motivations for UAP disclosure factions and the gatekeepers and whatever else, and me and you. We're not just one person. We're not just one. A dream doesn't just mean one thing. And so there's many things that are complexly arising. So that informs this hypothesis, the Dream AI hypothesis. There's one. So in the midst of alien abduction, I say most seem dreamlike. Some are probably very real. You tell me. I don't know. But if I turn and I see clues for dreams, I go, this is dreamlike. If I see physical evidence associated with dreamlike experiences, I go, maybe dreams have an impact on physical waking reality, not the other way around. That's the hypothesis I turn to. Dream AI hypothesis based on mutual enactment hypothesis. It basically says that UAP and NHI reports and dream reports are valuable to a variety of factions involved with UAP disclosure because of a variety of reasons. They can reveal secret tech. Someone might have a dream report or UFO report about the secret drone or whatever, and they report it to the government. The government wants to cover it up, whatever. So there's a database there of reports. Similarly, they can identify psionic experiencers. Now, if you need an actual example of this, turn to the Unusual Survey events funded by Bigelow and Hans Adam. They ran it 3 times. Second time they were like, or third time they were like, we should ask if we can contact these people. And they did. They got one person who was an alien abductee out of 6,000 in that, and they probably contacted them. There were probably many other people that expressed a kind of likelihood of being a psionic experiencer. They probably contacted them too. The reports themselves and databases of them, I believe, mediate psychic phenomena. This is the hypothesis that I've been working with for a long time. I'd be happy to explain why. But the collection, analysis, and revelation of dreams in and of themselves has a sort of impact, an ontological impact. It may actually mediate psychic phenomena. And it may be non-human intelligence communication. This comes from the kind of Kona Blue era proposal. There's a paper called SETI by Entanglement that really goes into this. So that really shows you that people were thinking about operationalizing databases of dream reports, incubating dreams for that. Right? This is obvious to me from the literature. Therefore, multiple factions. This is the thing I kind of understood from decoding the tweet. Multiple factions maintain databases of NHI and possibly dream reports. They're interpreting them, and they're experiencing the consequences of those databases, and they may not actually know that collecting these things together, analyzing them, may retroactively cause the reports to happen. This is a mind. Don't even try to think of rationally understanding this. Read Eric Wargo's book, Practice Precognitive Dreaming Yourself. You can do it. I'll help you with it. And then you'll understand. I'm not a psychic. I can't get lottery numbers. All I have with these precognitive dreams are vague signs and wonders, clues to do something, and this weird sense that I need to operationalize psionic dreaming through things like DreamWell, my app, through things like my PhD. That's why I got very excited by decoding this, is I go, there's actually people working on this problem in a variety of factions that may be competing with each other. I go, I need to be part of one of those teams because I need allies in my work. That's where I'm at. So, dream hypothesis. Interpretation and collection of dreams are psychically powerful phenomena like precognition, entity encounters, revelation of new knowledge, causal connections with UAP and NHI. Like I said, teleological causes are very powerful, but we don't talk about them. The mere act of collecting dreams or NHI UAP reports to take collective action may have had real yet unknown effects through complex causality involving dream loops, right? Therefore, some NHI UAPs may have been unintentionally caused by the collection and analysis of these reports. So how does that hypothesis relate to Brown? Brown's tweet inspired me to consider various uses for a dream database or an NHI UAP report database. Brown's document describes a shift of power from Bigelow to another firm for the database, that is the Immaculate Constellation program. I care more about how dreams are managed than who managed them and why. The dreams can look after themselves if there are willing dreamers to dream them. So that's really important. I'm addressing this. There are some insidious, horrible things associated with a lot of this, surveillance states and things like that. Surveillance states and using technologies to enact empire regimes overseas and stuff like this is what it's connected to. This is why it's dangerous. This is why it involves treason. I don't care about those things. I just care that the people who have these databases are kind of aware that they may have a kind of causal impact on what's going on in those databases just by the fact of who they are and they're looking at them, right? That's double slit light experiment type stuff. I care about that. And I care about managing the unintentional impact of these databases for the benefit of our people. Right? And I care about clearing out some of the misconceptions caused by this work so that we can really transmute the traumata of alien abduction into the empowerments of shamanic dreaming. This is the trauma of NHI contact into conviction that you are a powerful psionic asset if that's what you want to be. So the danger from Brown implies seems to arise from transgression of information boundary. That's treason. That's maybe whistleblowing. My dream guidance assures me that it may accomplish its goals along with yours, you agent of a UAP faction, and one of my kind of members of the audience that normally listens to me, that such correspondences may not need to be transgressed such those boundaries don't need to be transgressed in order for our goals to be accomplished. That's what I'm saying here. That happens when people work with me on their dreams. Sometimes they don't want to talk to me about the deep, dark stuff of their past, and that's fine. I don't need to talk about it. I'm not doing mental health stuff. I just take the words you say, I rearrange them, and I ask you a question based on them. That's about it. So you can talk to me in signs, even in trance, and I can return those signs back to you because I'm initiated into another order of knowing, which is my psionic thing in those sessions. And it's really easy to claim you can fly a craft, and I don't do that. I don't even claim I summon craft. I claim that I can guide most people into a trance state and that we can work with the dreams, and the dreams themselves are naturally shamanic and psionic. That's what I claim. So my experience associated with this is I wrote my master's thesis on a dream database. I run the DreamWell, and I architected this data-driven dream dictionary solution that brought together 200,000 dreams from the internet and analyzed them using machine learning and other techniques, especially content analysis, that brings in continuity with the last 50 years of dream research. My CE5 experiments, I'll point to dream loops as a causal path for entity encounters and UAPs. This is talking about dreams as a mode of causality. People go like, it's not a dream. Actually go, it is a dream. And if we acknowledge that, we can understand how that dream is creating real effects in your life and world. So these things might be possibly mediated through DMT and some other factor, a delta factor, a D factor, right? An example here is the intersection of Galathog the Grey, my dream character, and Dale Groff from the Project Stargate and his dreams, what we dressed up as characters from our dreams, and the synchronicity there and our communication for me was meaningful. And I wrote about it in the book, Missing Time Found. And it pointed me to a dream loop, and it made me conclude things about the future. And then I found out about Eric Wargo's work, and I was like, wow, actually, that really explains a lot. Thanks. So my dreams provide a lot of info about operationalizing hypnosis and dream work for intelligence purposes. This is like an AM radio station going on all the time in my dreams and in my research, and there's a little voice in my ear that says, you should do this, pay attention to that. When you're in charge of this, you have to do that, blah, 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 blah. It's just like Galathog the Grey goes, you're lining yourself up for this. You need to do that. I've lined you up for this. And so go, well, that's great, but I do a sliding scale donation for people who are, touched by the other side and are like heartfelt people who want to be of service to others. That's what really happens. And so go, how does that intersect with these people? I don't know. But my guidance is telling me to bring this forward. So I am. So agents of the Imperial Shewstone, this is where you come in. If my hypothesis is accurate, you have likely seen signs and wonders, such as being guided here and now. I know you need help with technical implementation of a reports database involving NHI and dreams. I know you need help interpreting those personal narratives. I know you need help collecting the reports, asking the questions, because I'm a skilled interlocutor and I know how rare it is to actually be skilled in generating a non-dual mindful presence and asking someone without veering towards selfish suggestion, right? And you need help with the management of unseen causal implications of your operations, whether or not you intended them. And I would mediate those through those occult and psionic forces through my shamanic dreamwork practices, which I have engaged with to come to this understanding. So not all AI I don't think you need help with AI implementation necessarily, or web crawling, but more with the occult management of the sigils and integrating these multiple ways of knowing. So I need funding for my research. I just do. I've tried to do it by donations. I'm in a leave of absence for ethical and financial reasons. The ethical reasons led to financial reasons. I stopped being able to practice in the same way. I'm still getting on board. I'm still ramping up. My move, a whole bunch of stuff. I've got 10 weeks this summer quarter to figure this out. I've been granted a leave of absence till then. If I don't do something, I'm automatically withdrawn from the school. If I do something, I'm back in good status. I have an active application for a project, a collaboration with a research center that will go on there no matter what. That's the MIR project, Methods and Ethics for Experiencer Research, with a Center for Anomalous and Noetic Studies, right? So I'm asking the world for a grant for my PhD, specifically for the MIR project I proposed to CANS. And that could be managed through that institute and things like that. I've already sensed that out, and we can talk about that. That's a viable path bureaucratically, and I know that because I've talked to the bureaucrats, and I know what it is to architect projects and grants and stuff like that from my time leading technical projects. So I know that's possible. So I'm talking about that now, and I've written all this stuff up a year or two ago in in this book, and I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. That's the D-SETI Research Institute proposal. I could also receive funding via an investment in DreamWell. So that's a mobile app. It's cloud-based. It's scalable. We have conversion rate numbers and things like that. It could be sustainable if I had a placement on a podcast with somewhere between 100,000 and 1 million subscribers. It could be sustainable there to support my work. And that's why I'm saying strategic exposure through your narrative mechanisms may be sufficient. And so if the person that I hope to contact with is here, they actually literally have the means to say yes or no to move this project forward right now. And that's why I'm asking for help. My dream guidance suggests inviting this collaboration. That's why. I was just going to do it my own. I was going to set up, we built an off-grid dome in a place where it should be rent-free, basically, as there's an exchange to be a steward of the land here. And we set that up. And so go, okay, I could actually provide for my family and align with my donations in this situation in probably 3 or 4 months once we're set up. And I likely won't be able to pay for the PhD in that time. That's fine, but I don't necessarily think I need that PhD to do the work I need to do, except for the fact there's some decision tree pathways that require that. And so I'm keeping that open and asking for the help now for that. And instead of doing it my own, being a voice in the wilderness. So here's the pitch. Funding my PhD may have implications on the liability of NHI and UAP research methods. This is why the billionaires may be interested in funding my PhD, even if they're not interested in PhDs themselves or my research. Right? There's implications for actions taken, and there's ways to define that. I'm not interested in defining that unless I have an ally in that definition. It does not make sense. I am not allowed to play that game because I'm not in that class. This is a class game that I cannot play for. I need a sponsor. And Rockefeller sponsored John Mack. Bigelow sponsored a number of people, right? So there's, a sponsorship that I think might happen when I invoke the name of the Imperial Shewstone that I'm hoping for. Or at least the dreams that inspired this sort of litigious decision tree thing want me to go down. I don't want to do that, but I follow my guidance and I make commitments to that guidance. So anyways, MIR might help define legal precedents involving the recovery of long forgotten trauma, which it does something interesting to discovery dates of crime and the ability to litigate on the induction of harmful false memories of alien abduction. Now I'm bringing this forward. I've written about this. People don't. This is what the grandfather, the teacher I connected with in my book, the Liber Visionorum Xenomanticarum Magi Secretum Magnum. Said, grandfather, the dreaming grandfather who taught me lucid dreaming says, this is a pharmacon. This is a medicine and a poison. I've introduced it slowly over a couple of years, and I have about 3 years to introduce it. I'm about a year and a half into it fully. So we'll see how it goes. Another timeline. So investing in or partnering with DreamWell, the mobile app, may accomplish specific goals involving Dream AI. That's the technical operation of collective psionic dreaming systems based on causal dream loops through incubation and collection and hence analysis. So there's a whole system we can operationalize this, precognition, other contact, communication, and things like that. This has been written about in papers, Dale Groff, that SETI by entanglement. These are surrounding the remote viewing conversation. We can bring those together. You need a magical operator for that. If you think you can offload that to an AI or a middle manager or something, you're wrong. You need a magical operator, even if they're just asking questions or reading them from a script to people in trance. You need a magical operator. Otherwise, you will see unforeseen consequences of asking questions of people in trance, recording that, and analyzing those things. So employing me may be generally beneficial for your UAP disclosure faction interest because of my training and experience integrates professional software engineering and psionic and occult soft skills, right? I've got this occult soft skills needed to accomplish work with UAP narratives and some technical skills to be of assistance to a dream database project or a report database project. A lot of this is put forward in the D-SETI Research Institute proposal. You can get to that on my website. Here's my resume. I just wanted to walk through that because this is sort of like a job pitch. I live in Canada. I am a U.S. citizen. I have education and training in these matters. Classically educated in Annapolis from St. John's College. I am CEO of DreamWell, a CTO. I was CTO of LightNet, a community focused on collecting reports, right? I was a lead data system developer for community attributes, and this gives me experience architecting solutions for billionaires' good projects or government projects and things like that. So I know how to do projects with people like those who manage UAP disclosure factions, right? And I also am working on publications and things like that. I just wanted to show you the DreamWell. This is, you can get there at dreamwellbewell.com. We'll click into the website so you can see it a little bit. It's an app. It teaches you how to dream and be mindful, and collects dream reports and information about your day. And we also have a interesting set of intellectual property that analyzes massive database of dreams. So getting this online and finding meaning in it and communicating about it is one of the reasons why I know that there's unforeseen consequences of collecting together these things. I'm just showing you aliens and UFO dreams, right? What this might look like. You can go to the D-SETI Research Institute proposal on dseti.org/books. You can get that. You can read my article. It's like a 20-page paper about applying this mode of inquiry to explore the unusual personal experiences survey and data around that. So, okay. Nothing new under the sun. We're done with the presentation, the subject matter. Thanks for being with me through this. So we're going to tune into this guy, Philip Klass. This is the source of the name Skeptics UAP News. It's inspired by Skeptics UFO News. Right? So each episode of Sun, we kind of look at this. We're now at episode 8, so we're looking at Sun number 8 in March 1991. And basically, this really helps me to go, hey, they've been talking about... The parade of whistleblowers has been going on since 1991, right? There's whistleblowers, there's MJ12 stuff, there's documents here and there. I don't really care so much about military disclosure. The thing I really care about is entity encounters and an abduction. And so we're getting really close to the heart of the subject matter here in 1991. Philip Klass in his Skeptics UFO newsletter writes, Bud Hopkins discovers that ETs are obsessed with sexual organs. And so he talks about that here. What's really interesting to me is he mentions Eddie Bullard. So that's Thomas E. Bullard is how he goes in the academic presses. Edward Bullard talked about the consistency of folklore reports. Now, that actually is a finding that I say is really interesting, but ultimately Bullard suggests that things like Lewy body, dementia, and for the trois, or no, for the is the folly of two, can really explain a lot of these things, and there's multiple explanations for this complex phenomena, but it's ultimately not necessarily alien abduction. That's what he explained to me in an email. I don't think he is that clear in his other books, but I thought it was really interesting. Class mentions him. They talk about University of Kansas sponsoring the UFO abduction conference, involving Dr. Rima Libo. There's also so that's something that happened back then. I don't have much to say about that so much as this one. So it begins. Hopkins Jacobs hold their own UFO abduction conference, and that was at Pennsylvania somewhere. Temple University. No, where was that? Philadelphia, because this is where Bigelow, I believe, attended and decided to start supporting. He in this one or the next one, he decided to start supporting these guys, these researchers. They write checks for to all of these guys to help fund these conferences and stuff like that. We've got names here: David Jacobs, John Mack, Ron Westrom, Richard Haynes. They're all showing up. These are all big names associated with UFO abduction and stuff like that. Gottlieb is really interesting. He wrote a lot about ethics. So this is sort of, we'll see a coming together and a coming apart, and this sort of drama thing unfolding. But this is where I really turn to go, okay, something's actually moving in the zeitgeist here, and it's permeating the upper crust, let's say, through Bigelow and Hans Adam and things like that. Here, according to one participant during the conference, Bud Hopkins warned that when children tell their parents tales of UFO abduction, the parents should not tell the children that the incident was only a dream. I agree and disagree with that, and there's so much complex stuff around that. I just had to call that out. Sun is a liturgy delivered by me, a priest of high strangeness. So what is a priest of high strangeness? This was defined by by Carol Rainey in this article. It's subtitled "The Co-Creation of the Alien Abduction Phenomena." Co-creation of the alien abduction phenomena. It's all about David Jacobs and Bud Hopkins and their violation of ethics in suggesting stories for their personal profit. And you can really see that now, especially after years and decades of research about hypnosis and false memories. You can really, if you turn back to this, you can really see it. If you turn back to what Gottlieb says about stuff and all these people talking about it, you go, okay, actually, these guys misunderstood something. Now, I say they got something very, very right, and I would like to transmute what they got wrong into a greater understanding. I don't think we need to throw everything out with abductology. I think that their ethical violations were violations in the context of objective research, but not in the context of non-dual transpersonal things, especially John Mack's work. I'm saying, the pervy stuff, forget about it, right? That has no place in supporting other people. The pervy stuff, get rid of it. The inducing children to tell fantastic, scary stories so that Bud Hopkins can make a buck, forget about it. That's unethical. That's condemn-worthy. But the confusions that we have, the well-intentioned research, the unintentional induction of these NHI and UAP encounters and things like that's fine. That's great. That's all. The working with high strangeness, like these men in their communications, I say, actually, their holding of space through the sacrament of hypnosis is actually what enables the paranormal phenomena to emerge in the past, right? Because of the teleological causal nature of dream loop. How amazing is that? We haven't really mapped that out. There's ways we could do it, But it's hard to do that if you don't have solid basis for conducting research, right? Like, that's hard to do. The things that I've done with the resources I've had, I'm at a limit now. We need to go at the cultural level, I need to go at the cultural level, not just individual. That's why I'm working with PhD stuff. That's why I'm inviting more of this connection here. All right, we're just talking about Priests of High Strangeness. We just named these as a sort of homage. Bud Hopkins wrote the text Missing Time. David Jacobs wrote Secret Life. Johnny Mack wrote Abductions, Human Encounters with Aliens. He wrote many more things too, and is quite an interesting character that we need to talk about all the time. And we've got Robert Bigelow, who I say is something like a Pope of High Strangeness. He really sponsored the definition of the UFO abduction syndrome. Then we've got me, Daniel Rekshan. I wrote the book Missing Time Found. I am a priest of high strangeness, something like a Protestant, let's say. So sun is a practice of Enochian Magick. This is an example of Enochian Magick. I see this presentation as a liturgy. This is an example of the Enochian Magick, Enochian chanting that I did in the beginning. And now we come to Something Yet Remains, which is the segment of Sun where we honor Thomas E. Bullard. He wrote The Myth and Mystery of UFOs. There was a chapter named Something Yet Remains, and it really says, hey, even if you explain everything as Lewy body disorder or whatever, hypnosis and hallucination, something yet remains to be explained with the UFO and NHI encounter phenomena. This says, even if we were the most skeptical as possible, something's going to remain, and we're going to keep looking for that. And so what yet remains for me is an explanation or understanding of the intersection of Dream and NHI report databases with contemporary UAP disclosure. I only really know about the BAS database that came out through AIMSOG that may have hoovered up the MUFON database with citizens' data that they presented to Department of Defense, and it looked bad, I suppose, to the Collins elite, and that's what someone told me once. I need that reference. I don't know that reference. What yet remains is an understanding of causal loops and collective dreaming, and that's really huge. There's a huge topic to explore, and I think we could have 1,000 scientists, researchers working on it for a while and not fully understand it. But then perhaps I also think that it will only take a moment, and then we'll have an understanding, because in the future we have done that study. What yet remains is the relationship of dream experiences, the NHI encounters, the UFO stuff, with anomalous physical effects. Many people go, well, you're a skeptic now and you believe all these things are dreamlike. What do you say about the medical stuff? Someone left a comment on that. Thanks for watching. I love that question. I go, dreams, I go, I'm just saying it works not from physical to dream. I'm saying perhaps it's the other way. It's dream to physical. Let's just look at that. I'm seeing a lot more evidence for that. I'm not saying those real anomalous medical effects aren't there, that they don't need to be explained. I'm just saying that dreams might explain it, and that we need to expand our understanding of dreams. This has been a presentation of D-SETI, the Dream Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or the Dream Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. You can get in touch with me at daniel@dseti.org. You can read my books. You can sign up for a sliding scale, pay what you will, donation-based services like dream work and hypnosis. It begins with a consultation. That's free and no obligation. I answer any questions you might have, and then we go through a process and we do dream work together. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. Even if you are some tech billionaire, we'll probably go through the same process a little bit. Even if you are some whistleblower deep within whatever, or some gatekeeper, doesn't matter to me. You still have dreams, and we can work with them. And those dreams will lead you to healing, insight, and transformation. And if you are an agent of the Imperial Shewstone, it will lead our empire into the glory that you are seeking. And so with that, let's just move a little bit into a space of reflection and conclusion and gratitudes. So the thing for me in this that I want to communicate is this communication, and all of my work actually comes from the dream incubation practice I have. I go to bed, I go, what does this mean? Help me understand it. There's a dream of a bridge. I go, oh, okay, there's a bridge. What might that mean? Maybe I'll look into it more. Maybe I'll take action. And something happens and I have another dream, and that dream completes a little bit more, and I go, what does that mean? And I do this thing, and then something else will happen. And I'm not psychically controlling UFO craft. I'm not psychically reading lottery numbers. I can't do any of that stuff. I can just go, wow, this sign and wonder of two hummingbirds at the moment I see 444 and 333 associated with Galathog inspires me to do something. And I go, the fact that I dreamt of that bridge being constructed one night and solid the next night means that I need to take action in some way. And so this is an action I'm taking, and I'm hoping to communicate. This has really forced me to contemplate the UAP disclosure factions and how to relate to them and how to relate to the empire activities around them. And I'm hoping that I'm very clear to the two types of people I'm speaking to now. One is the agents of the Imperial Shewstone, who are perhaps members of UAP disclosure factions or gatekeepers, who have maintained databases of dreams or reports or connected to it. I'm talking to you, and I'm hoping I'm clear. If not, email me, read my books. Happy to clarify. I'm also talking to my audience who's been with me in my journey, who may be concerned that I'm even contemplating talking to the imperial gatekeepers of UAP disclosure and things like that. And I go, you know what? They're humans too. You know what? We need to lead truth and reconciliation in this process. We do not need to, what some people say in like the weaponized world is like tar and feather, right? And blah, blah, blah. Like, you're preventing me from having the UFOs heal my sickness. It goes, no. These alien mythologies are preventing you from miraculously healing yourself. And there's no technology that is hidden away, perhaps, that can replace that sort of thing. No AI can do your own dreaming for you. So that's the message I have. That's what I want you to hear. And I'm saying it and speaking in this way, taking an hour and a half almost to say these coded things over and over and over again, so that you know my faith is in the dream practices, let's say, and the angels or the aliens, whatever you call them, which are actually just reflections of my own mind, your own mind, the mind of the world dreaming itself into being and into knowing itself. That's what's happening here. So we're moving from a world where there may be a variety of ways to be into a world in which we must be the angels. And so with that, I'll just say, may you dream well. By this merit may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. Come, appear to the terror of the earth, and to our comfort, and of such as are prepared.